And so I wrote a book called Against Criticism, which was about what was wrong with this whole process. I remember hearing that Ted Hughes, when he'd been studying English at Cambridge, had a dream one night that a fox came into his room and put its bleeding paw on his essay and said, "Why are you murdering us?" And that feeling that I was engaged in destroying something living and beautiful and wild spoke to me. And I thought, I don't want to go on doing this. Not because I don't love literature, but precisely because I love literature. I didn't want to go on, as it were, operating on my friends for the rest of my life. So and what seemed to me to be at the base of the problem was the mind-body relationship, that we were looking at literature in much too disembodied a way, as you could fill it out a philosophy or some ideas from the poem, which on their own are incredibly banal, like, it's tough when somebody you love dies. Well, you can hear that in the pub, but, and then you look at the verse form and you can't find it there, any more than you can take a piece of music apart and find it in the notes. And so I thought, no, it's something to do with a work of art as an embodied being that has an encounter with you as an embodied being. It's not a bunch of thoughts that just has an encounter with your brain. And I need somehow to tackle this problem. And in those days in Oxford, we knew very little about, nobody ever pointed me in the direction of European philosophers such as Merleau-Ponty or Heidegger, who would have understood or had important and interesting things to say about this very problem. Instead, it was a purely Anglo-American analytic philosophical stream, which didn't really deal with the mind-body problem very well at all, because it was busy in dissecting them and then trying to understand how they related after they'd been dissected. So I thought I need to know more about this, and I went to all the seminars and so on, but found them very sterile and too disembodied, frankly, in their approach to this mind-body problem. And so then it was that I decided I ought to really study medicine. I'd been influenced by Saxes' Awakenings, which had just come out, and I read it absolutely riveted. I read every page, just like that, without putting the book down. And I thought it was wonderful because he brought together in an exemplary way specific, very individual cases with massively important observations of a general nature. So it seemed to me a perfect example of what I wanted, because his subject matter was people who had experienced this strange encephalitis that had left them with features of a Parkinsonian type. And then the advent of a drug, L-Dopa, which was enabled them to come out of this trance for a short period. So he wrote about their experiences, and I found this quite fascinating, and I thought, this is what I must do.